What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome into another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. In the middle there is Ersin Demir. And on the end there, I guess right or left, depending on how this flips on the screen for you, is Kevin Broom. So, guys, we got together for the live draft show last year. We're back here for a live mock draft, essentially a week before the draft. So, there's some intel floating around out there too. We can let that kind of go into our thinking here a little bit if we want on just sort of who's popular for which guys or what they're saying their team needs are. But I think realistically, let's just make the picks based on who we like and who makes sense for the teams based on our evals, and we'll save the real intel and reporting for the other folks out there, and we'll just kind of make our way through the first round and see where we end up. But first, Ersin, how are you? How are things?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Wizards Nation, I'm a little bit sad for you that you guys failed the six, but yeah, man, it's this the ping pong ball never bounced your way. I think the Brad Beal and Wall days were good, but after that, it's never been really good in terms of luck. But yeah,
Next
man,
year, that's our
Dawkins
year.
is doing great things. I think you get good value at six. Other than that, I'm doing good, man. Looking forward to the draft, not as much as last year's, but it's the draft, so it's the big day.
That's right. Kevin, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. I have heard no intel, so I can't share any.
Beautiful. That's even better. We're coming at this clean and got a blank slate going. So, just for everybody listening at home, we talked about this off air, but we're going to go through the first round here. We're going to alternate picks. So, Kevin will have the first pick. I'll have the second pick. Erson will have the third pick. But for the Wizards picks at 6 and 18, we are going to try to do our own little war room here, come to a consensus. That way you can blame all three of us or none of us, however you want to do that, depending on if you like the pick or not. And then, we'll just kind of go back to the who's next up in the draft order here as we go. So I'll read out who's going with which pick and which team. And we'll do a recap maybe every like 10 picks here of just who's off the board so far. I think, fellas, one thing just for the three of us, once we start talking about a player, every once in a while, just repeat the player's name for folks listening at home because people kind of tune out. I know I sure do. So it'll helpful, be helpful for everybody else following along here.
Yeah.
But let's just dive right into this thing. Kevin, you are up with the number one pick in our 2025 live mock draft for the Dallas Mavericks. Who you got?
Yeah, I thought of a million jokes, but really, there's only one pick here, and that's Cooper Flag. He's the best prospect in the draft. He's a really strong prospect, period, at least in my evaluation. No brainer for Dallas. They should now trade away a bunch of veterans, rebuild around Cooper Flag. I think that's what makes sense for them. So Cooper Flag is the pick.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty straightforward, non-controversial one. This next one may be the same thing here. I'm going to do the same sort of thing and stick with consensus just because I don't really see the draft breaking from this, regardless of if the pick gets traded or whatever the case may be. It seems pretty straightforward that the San Antonio Spurs or whoever picks ultimately at that spot is going to take Dylan Harper out of Rutgers with the number 2 overall pick here, which is wild, guys. Not only is there ever really like some years like Wembanyama, obviously there's a consensus number 1 pick, but it's rare for there to be like also a definitive consensus number 2 pick that's not gonna definitely jump the number 1 guy. Like where it's a very clear 1 is 1 and 2 is 2, and then everything after that is a little more open ended. You don't see that very much, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I see. I definitely agree. I got the two in very distinct tiers, and then there's a big group after that. It's all just kind of in a mosh pit.
It'll keep it fun and interesting for us here as we go. And then again on draft night, which for everybody listening to this, we will be doing a live draft show again. Kevin and I will definitely be there. Erson, you're welcome to jump on with us at any point again. If you want to do that, especially for the early pick, we'd love to have you pop in. For everybody listening, obviously love to have you guys there too. If you are watching this live on YouTube right now for us, please click that little like button. We really appreciate that. It helps us get out to other Wizards fans, other sickos out there that might need to find a little community during this difficult time for us where we're falling all the way to number 6, but we'll make it work. All right, so Erson, your first pick here, you got the tough one. The Philadelphia 76ers are up at number 3. Who would you go with? Oh, we lost your sound there for some reason.
Oh, sorry, I muted
There,
myself.
oh, gotcha. All good.
I've given it a lot of thought, man, with Philly. They have McCain, they have Maxi, both at 6'2", 6'3". I think they need size and shooting. That's the primary goal. I'm not going with the Ace Bailey pick because they need someone who can help right away and who can add some more size to their wings and also be an extra creator on the ball. I'm going with Trey Johnson, man. That's my pick that I've been sitting on for an entire month. I think he's going to be the guy for them at number 3, just because 6'6", another dynamic ball and a great shooter, man. One of the best shooters in this class, if not the best. I think he's even better than Ace Bailey in that regard. He's my number 2, 3 guy on my personal board. And yeah, man, I'm sticking with Trey Johnson here. So we're shaking up the boards early, guys.
No, that's good. He's number 3 for me on the overall list here as well. So no judgment. And if you're them, like, it's a weird enough team fit overall. I would just be taking the best guy I can get, and then you can shake some things up. Maxey and Johnson could play together. Maybe Jared McCain is trade filler, or you just keep 3 really good guards and you make it work and you get a little weird. I think that's what I would do.
I got him 5th, so but he's in that big group of guys, any which could be like 3 through like 8. I think they're all kind of in the same boat for me.
I like it. All right, so largely non-controversial here, I think, at this point, and there's a chance that Philly isn't picking there, so somebody going at 3 could also like Johnson as well. So I feel like that's a pretty recession-proof here idea. Kevin, you got an interesting one here. Number 4, the Charlotte Hornets. You're on the board. Who are you taking?
Man, the Hornets need help. So you've got LaMelo Ball, who, right? Yeah. You got LaMelo Ball, who is always hurt. And then
Brandon Miller, and that's really it.
The rookie, and so there's a lot of room. The next guy on my list is Con Knipple, and Jordan's not there, so they don't have to do the North Carolina connection anymore. That said, I do think that's kind of, he fits the prototype of what they need. Just an overall really good player who's a great shooter. He should be nice, catching open kickouts from LaMelo, and so that'll be the pick. Con Knipple from Duke.
Yeah, there's been a lot of VJ Edgecombe speculation. I actually kind of like that. One of the few knocks I think you can have on Brandon Miller so far is he doesn't really get to the rim a ton, but if the floor is ultra spaced around him with Knipple and LaMelo, I think there's plenty of driving lanes for someone like him, and he's really the guy I'd be trying to set up for success here. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, ultimately that's kind of that shooting, and is why I didn't go Edgecombe. So.
Yep, like that.
But I do like Edgecombe too. He's the next guy on the list for me.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of it's going to be a lot of splitting hairs. Beauty is the in the eye of the beholder things between guys. 3 through 10 realistically, I think, on a lot of boards this year. Yeah. Okay, so I am up next here with the Utah Jazz, and that's interesting because I think I was leaning for the Mormon white guy stereotype there and just putting Con Knipple up in Utah. So kind of ruined things for me here a little bit. I think VJ Edgecombe will make some sense there. You've got a guard in Keontae George that's going to just put up volume shots, and having somebody that's a little lower usage that can defend next to him, rotate in around Collier as well. It just kind of fills out a piece for them. And at some point, they're going to need a couple athletic defenders here too. So I'm a little lower on VJ Edgecombe than most personally. I think he's a little closer to 10 on my own personal board than he is, 4, 5, 6 kind of range. But I think there's a little bit, too much for a team like that to pass up on the talent. I do think the fit would kind of make sense there as well. All right, so that's the Utah Jazz here, taking VJ Edgecombe off the board with the number 5 pick, which brings up our Washington Wizards with the number 6 pick here. So, Ersin, maybe give us the top 3 guys here that you're thinking about, and then we'll have Kevin go and I'll go, and we'll just sort of reconcile a list down from there.
Yeah, exactly. I've been going 3 ways. I think this one makes the most sense, is Fierce. I think if you look at Bob Carrington, rim pressure is not really his thing. And with Jeremiah Fierce, you're getting one of the best, paint touch generators in this class, maybe even last class as well. I like his game a lot. His handles are Kyrie-esque level, man. It's just too good. And for him, he should be a senior in high school. I'm not worried about the defense at all because he's going to grow into his frame. The measurements were good with him, and he can be a 1. I think he's going to bulk up in the next couple of years, and he's going to actually improve as a defender naturally in the NBA. It's also about adjustment. And no one expected Oklahoma to be in the NCAA tournament. And they were backed by a one-and-done guard. He basically did everything by himself. So in terms of talent, this guy should be, yeah, I'm really shocked. As you said, not really shocked, but the consensus number 2 is not really fair for me because this guy is rising. He should be a consistent top 5 guy. And it makes too much sense for Washington to take Fierce. That's my first option. The second option is the local kid, Derek Queen. I think Sar is not truly a 5. I think his skill level should improve, that he should play a 4, but they can make it work with 2 bigs, just like the Cavaliers, for example. I think with Derek Queen, you get the most skilled big man in this class. Yeah, man, that's the type of potential star that you're betting on. And the Washington Wizards, they need a lot, and they can swing for the fences, which they should do with this pick. And the third option is Malawach, I think, for the Washington. Again, another 5. You really add another top defender into the rotation. This team is already built around defenders and athletes. But, he is a real utility player. That's not really... Derek Queen is a creator, but Malawach is a utility player. Do you take a utility player that high while you don't have the guard play to set him up in year 1? So, not my favorite pick, but the one that would make sense for the long run. So I'm going with Fierce 1, Queen 2, and then Malawach 3.
All right, Kevin, who would the top 3 options be for you for the Wizards here so far?
So for me, the top 3 who are available, I would say Ace Bailey. I have a lot of concerns about him. That said, he's a very talented player. He's got a good frame. He's young, and I think he could be one of those guys who ends up being better in the NBA than he was in college, just because of the nature of the game. I mean, it'll take him a while, I think, but the Wizards have time, and I think it's one of those high upside, swing for the fences kind of things. Next guy on my list here for them would be Noah Essengay. Athletic, long, just skilled player. Plus, he's French, so that would be a nice pickup all the way around. And then my next guy, I think I would probably go. I do have him a little lower down than this spot, but I really like the upside and I like the case that I've heard for him, and that's Jeremiah Fears. So I would put Fears on that list as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Just real quick, I have this is probably my first and biggest disagreement with Ersin, and that is like Derek Queen. I have rated much lower, and so I know the scouts see something, and this could be very much something. Ersin and I, one of the things I love about talking with him is that we have exactly opposite approaches. Ersin watches everything. Yeah. I watch nothing. I do I'm all stats. So Queen does not grade out very well in Yoda, and so I would be concerned personally about picking him this high. But this could be a case where, like Jaylen Brown, for example, rated poorly in my stats model and obviously has become a very good pro. Another guy like that who I rated retroactively, just to take up some more time here, but it was JJ Redick, who was seriously like among the worst players I ever rated because he literally did nothing at Duke except shoot the ball. Yep. But it turned out when he got to the NBA, he had other skills too.
And he was still really good at shooting the ball too. Which doesn't hurt.
Also really good at shooting the ball and a good, great movement shooter. And he also did some work. He got in incredible shape, and he added a lot to his game as well. Got a lot stronger, so and quicker.
All right, so I've got next 3 on my own personal board here: Ace Bailey, Jeremiah Fears, and Kasparas Yakachonis. So we'll take out maybe the outlier guys for all of us here. So I think the only kind of repeated names, well, the only guy all 3 of us had is Fierce. So I feel like that's a pretty maybe easy through line for us to draw at that point. So I don't know. Do we want to roll with that? Anybody want to make a strong, compelling case for a particular guy here?
Not really. You need a lot of guys. Tim, so Washington, they can go with a 1, go with a 5. There's no clear path to what they do. They might even trade back, who knows, and get some more assets. You don't really have to. If you feel like, okay, the Pelicans might take Fierce, so that's a risk. But there's not really a guy that you say, okay, if you don't take him at 6, he's gone. So I don't really feel that way. I like the Fierce one, but I'm not really. It could be Queen. It could be Jaco Jonas makes a lot of sense as well. They love to build through size and versatility on and off the ball with Jaco Jonas. And Fierce is really you have to make him the guy. That's also an investment. Yeah, man. There's a lot of ways to go that makes this pick so much fun.
Just on fears for a minute, like we talked a little bit about this in some other pre-draft pods. I think I've talked about them with both of you guys here, but anybody new to the show listening to this, I think part of the appeal here is just reclass guards don't really do well typically. So to kind of guide a team to the NCAA tournament, that's obviously appealing. But just watching him in person, there's a little bit of that like extra shit to him, like clapping in guys' faces as he hits like a tough shot or driving past a bigger guard and giving them a little bump, even though he's still kind of skinny and he didn't always finish, those attempts, but just being able to get by guys. I think the thing I've sort of like latched onto the more I do this and look at guys is all of the best players in the league are better than average ball handlers for their position. And I feel like that's not somewhere where guys seem to make like meaningful strides in their development. Like guys don't go from just bad ball handlers to suddenly really good quite as often. It happens. People sharpen that skill, definitely add a move here and there and some counters and things like that. But it's either you kind of got the ball on the string to some extent by this point in your development, or you don't. And I think that's the one thing you can kind of clearly point to with Fears is, he's going to be a tough guy for people to track from a ball handler perspective. And that's just really interesting to me because it's just one important skill. And with the space that you're going to have in the NBA, just somebody that can kind of get into lanes, create for some of these other guys on the Wizards that aren't necessarily the best creators for themselves. I think that's just really appealing. So it's not necessarily like a fit thing. It's what fits NBA teams in general. And at some point, somebody has to collapse a defense here a little bit. And I think of these guys we've talked about, he's probably the dude left that gives you the best chance of doing that. So I think that's going to be important from a team building philosophy. There's been a lot of talk about whether Fears is a Will Dawkins guy or not. And to me, a lot of the things that like obviously positional size is a common, trait for these dudes. And he doesn't necessarily have like, great size for his, he's not overly big for his position, but I think he's fine for a point guard. But I think the thing that's important with him too is they've targeted a lot of guys that, are still sort of young in their development and have like that growth potential. And someone like a reclass, freshman is somebody that could be potentially like a buy low guy, right? Like Keyshawn George was a guy that came in, didn't do a lot as a freshman, but they saw something there if we bought a little low. Same thing with Bub Carrington, was ahead of the curve. Like they're all kind of guys that were maybe a little bit ahead of schedule from a development perspective. Something like Koulibaly wasn't on draft boards, for that year to start the year he got drafted. Obviously, Sarr was big going into the year, but even FIBA that summer before Sarr played, his last pro season in Australia, like there were people that had him as like a later first round pick. So it wasn't like he was a slam dunk number one going into the year. So I think there might be something that they could find. And the shooting, it doesn't really worry me whatsoever. He's got good touch. And just, everyone on every defense knew he was going to shoot a ton and had to shoot a ton. So it just, those kinds of things I think will ultimately work themselves out. So I don't know. Any strong objection to going with that as the Wizards pick here at 6 from anybody?
Not at all, man.
Cool. Let's do it. And we'll keep it rolling. So at this point, the next pick on our board, let's see. I went last with Utah right before that. So Ersin, you were up with the New Orleans Pelicans with the number 7 pick in the draft here.
Yeah, the Pelicans is fun, man. I mean, look at their team. They don't have a point guard. They have one, okay, with CJ is not really a point guard, and they need one. But they're building through wings. Positional size is everything for them. I think Trey Murphy is the number one guy on the team, although Zion being there, because Zion hasn't really been proven that he's really reliable to be building through.
Mm-hmm.
And Herb Jones, I think he has to be one of the guards next year. I'm going with Ace Bailey, man. He makes too much sense. I think that's the best fit for him, the Pelicans. They need another shot maker. They're not good. I don't think they would be good next year either. So that's a good thing for him to start his career. And he can grow into that potential number 1, number 2, number 3 guy, just like Trey Murphy. No one expected him to be the most vital player in that team. So in terms of long-term potential, that's the best place for him to grow as well. I'm going with Ace Bailey, man, for the Pelicans. He makes too much sense for them.
And for the 20 games that Point Zion plays next season, he'll get him a lot of easy looks. So I think that's a nice way for him
His
to start.
rim pressure will give a lot of open shots for him as well. So it's a win-win for him regardless, man.
I like the pick. There.
Yeah, he seems like a Pelicans-y kind of guy just based on some of the other dudes that they've had too. So I like that. Kevin, you are up next with the 8th pick here for the Brooklyn Nets, the first of their 27 first-round picks that they have this year. So who are you going to take for the Nets?
Man, the Nets feel like they need everything. And so anyway, I'm going to go with, I think the guy they're least likely to go with here is Kaman Malawach, just because I don't think he fits what they want to do. I'm going to go for them. The forward that I thought about could go to the Wizards, that's Noah Essenga.
Okay.
High upside, good potential.
Yeah.
Somebody young, somebody that they can potentially build with.
They're a largely blank slate team. You think the guys that are on that roster probably aren't all guaranteed to be on that roster long term. So just starting fresh with another guy here that is also kind of like a clean slate player. I think that's reasonable.
The cap is also clean as well. They could take on some contracts and maybe get some more draft hits on draft night. Who knows?
Yeah,
I think they're going to be active.
We'll be elsewhere for picks and stuff too. Yeah,
I like it. All right. So he's actually moved up to number 11 on Rookie Scale's consensus big board too. So that's a guy that was like in the 20s a month or two ago, then move up to the teens, and is, now right around this range of the draft here. So I think that shouldn't surprise anybody on draft night if he's going somewhere around here. And the team that's actually up next here, the Toronto Raptors, I could see also valuing someone like that as well. So
yeah.
All right. The Toronto Raptors, I'm up here. I'm kind of torn between the two bigs that people are interested in. So you've got Kaman Malawach out of Duke and another freshman big, sort of the opposite end of the spectrum here in Maryland center, Derek Queen. They both have different things that seem to be Masai Ujiri-y kind of things, but their coaching staff really talks a lot about the value of having 5 guys out there that can pass, dribble, shoot. I think a lot of teams are looking to do that as well as they go here, but it seems to be, a real staple on the Toronto side. So I'm going to take Derek Queen with the 9th pick here for the Toronto Raptors. And that puts you, Ersin, up at number 10 for the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, the Rockets need, they basically don't need anything. I think the Steven Adams pickup was great for them. I was going to go Malawach, but, Adams signed that extension, and Alperen Şengün is the star of that team. I don't believe in Jalen Green. And they need depth. I think one of the things is Reed Shepherd. I didn't like the pick last year. Not to say, hey, I told you so, but they need a guy that can defend. They need a guy that can touch the floor for that extra depth. I'm going with one of the best athletes in this class, one of the best athletic wings. I'm going with Carter Bryant because they don't need long-term potential in terms of the next star of the team because, it's clear, man. It's Alperen Şengün, it's Amen Thompson. And then after that, it's basically everyone else who's going to pick up a role. And they have some good stout defenders, but they lack that, that true... Yeah, I don't even like the phrase 3-and-D because there are just a few players who are top three-point shooters and top defenders. But Carter Bryant can be one of those guys in the future because of how strong he's built. He's NBA ready. His game has boundaries at Arizona. That's what I liked about him. He's a burger boy, but he accepted his role being reduced so much. And in Houston, it's going to be the same thing, and he's already proven that he can do that. So this pick makes a lot of sense for them in terms of minutes that they can give him. Because let's say they pick another guy, he's not going to touch the floor at all, man. They need a guy that can play, and Carter Bryant is the best pick for them.
All right, let's do a recap here. So with the number 1 pick in this live mock draft, we have the shocking pick of Cooper Flagg to Dallas, number 1 here. We have Dylan Harper going number 2 overall to San Antonio. Trey Johnson, freshman, shooting guard, point guard, everything guard, out of Texas, going to the Philadelphia 76ers, number 3. We have Duke's Con Knipple going 4th to the Charlotte Hornets. VJ Edgecombe, freshman wing defensive stopper out of Baylor, going to Utah. The Washington Wizards, the thing that most of you are here to hear about, they select Jeremiah Fears. There's sort of growing buzz that he's their guy, which almost makes me think that maybe he isn't their guy, just because we're hearing that leaked from a front office that seemingly doesn't leak a lot of things. But I heard some stuff a month ago that they liked the pro day, and shockingly now they've had him in for a secret workout and all that stuff. So that might actually be the pick on draft night. We'll see. So again, that's Jeremiah Fears going 6 to the Washington Wizards. Ace Bailey going number 7 overall to the New Orleans Pelicans. French forward, center, wing, everything you need him to be or want him to be, and more. Noah Essengay going number 8 overall to the Brooklyn Nets. Got Maryland center Derek Queen going to the Toronto Raptors at number 9. And Arizona wing Carter Bryant going 10 overall to the Houston Rockets. All right, so Kevin, that puts you up on the board at number 11 for the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, Trailblazers are a team that could use a guard with size. I don't really see one here that I like. They don't really need a center. I think they've got that pretty well covered. They could use some help at forward, although they do have Denny. And I think, though, they should be trading Jeremy Grant. They should have traded him like 2 years ago. But, when you have a chance to pay Jeremy Grant $35 million a year or whatever, it seems like NBA teams just trip over themselves to do that.
Yeah, if they can't trade him now, I think might be the problem, even as much as they'd want to. I don't know who's taking on that money.
For some reason, somebody in the NBA, another team has to want to pay Jeremy Grant $40 million a year. I'm just saying. Like I said, I'm kind of stuck here. So what I'll do is just for them, pick the next guy on my list, and they can figure out how to do that. And that guy is Asa Newell, forward from Georgia. I know that this is a little early in terms of mock for him, but I like him. Good athleticism, good production, and he's at least in the numbers, it looks like he's got some of that try hard, defend kind of thing, and I think that would be a good compliment to basically any NBA team, including Portland.
Currently number 7 on the Matt Modderno big board for what that's worth for people. So I like that pick, Kevin. All right. I got the Chicago Bulls here, number 12. I think there's just probably no way Duke center Kaman Malawach falls much further than this on draft night. I think Nikola Vucevic is not there long-term here. So Charlotte can kind of fresh start. Maybe Atlanta would want to trade up one to try to get them. I could see him being a very Atlanta-y kind of big. But I'm going to take him here with the Bulls at number 12. Again, that's Duke center Kaman Malawach. All right. And then, and this is really like the run on big men stage of the draft here. Like there are a bunch of dudes that could go in the next pick, next 10 picks. And I can't really remember another recent draft where that's been the case here. So it's an opportunity for teams to kind of load up here and refresh their front court a little bit. All right. So I teased it a little bit. Ersin, you are up with the number 13, 13th pick overall, the Atlanta Hawks. Who you taking?
The Hawks are fun, man. I was really thinking about taking a vertical up threat, but that's more so 1 for 22 or later in the class. Because look at that team, they all basically have everything. If Jalen Johnson is back, I mean, the stars of that team are clear. It's Trey and it's Jalen Johnson. And then Ricochet up next. They will fight for whoever is going to be the star for the future. Maybe Trey leaves or something like that, but they will go with depth. I think they traded DeAndre Hunter, never got something back for him. His position was never really filled. I don't think Ricochet is the same player. He's more so of the 3-4. That's his mold in the future. So I'm going with the 2-3. Again, shooting prowess is the main thing here. Okay. Yeah, if you're Cedric Coward, you don't pass up on Duke if you're not going to be a top 20 pick. And for Coward, the best fit is Atlanta because his game is never built on on-ball creation. But in Atlanta, he has to improve as an on-ball creator as well, on top of the shooting prowess. He's one of the best role players in this draft. Yeah, a couple of years ago, he played Division III, and at Eastern Washington, he followed his coach to Washington State. It was the entire cycle he was injured, and I wrote about him in the summer. And I was like, okay, this guy has to be a first round pick based on the physicality, the physical profile, and the shooting prowess, based on his role. I think he's easy to put in a box, but there's much more potential there, despite him being an older prospect. So I like him a lot, man. Cedric Coward for the Hawks.
I promise I was listening as you went through that. I'm tweeting out who has come off the board here so
Yeah.
far. So if you were watching this on YouTube, I put it in the comments as well. But you can also check this out on Twitter. I'll refresh who's gone the last couple picks, every 10 or so guys, just for a recap. And again, we'll do that verbally. If you are watching this on YouTube, hit that like button for us. We always really appreciate when you guys do that. So thank you. Yeah, Cedric Coward makes sense. It seems to be a thing they're trying to do there with wings. They can shoot around Trey, and then he's got good size here as well. So I dig it. And Kevin, that puts you back on the board with the San Antonio Spurs at number 14.
Spurs. Yeah. So we're at 14. This is an interesting pick. I know, with where the mock consensus is, would probably point me in a certain direction, but I think for the Spurs, I would rather go. See, there's a guy that I want to pick for the Spurs here, but he shot 26% on threes last season. So I think he's very much a Spurs kind of player. I don't know if they have the same shooting coach development crew that they had in the past. And then the next guy on my list for them is Tiny. And I don't think that that's something that they would do either. And then the next guy after that is old. So
you're breaking all the Spurs tenets here with all three guys.
Yeah. So I'm going to do something that's actually kind of painful for me because I'm hoping in real life he slips to the Wizards at 16, but at 14, I'm going to take the guy that we talked about last time, Rasheer Fleming from St. Joseph's. He's tall. Well, he's not tall. He's 6'9", but he's got super long arms. And he does a lot of stuff really well. Good production. And I think in their system, he could be really good. And I think that three-point shooting, the length, the switchability makes him an interesting combination with Victor Wembanyama. And that is going to be one long-armed front line if he ends up there. So that's the pick. Once again, that's Rasheer Fleming from St. Joseph's going to the Spurs.
Makes sense next to Wembanyama too. He can be another guy that can then protect the rim a little bit for them and also step out and shoot some threes, and they become really athletic. I'm guessing the big combo guard you mentioned there was Yakachonis, and the little guard you were talking about there was Jace Richardson. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
I like it. All right. Let's see. The Oklahoma City, always a fun team to pick for at number 15. I'm going to just kind of end the skid here for Yakachonis and take him. They like positional size. They just took Nikola Topic last year as a bigger, playmaking guard. So give them a little Euro flavor here. And they just seem to like to buy low on some of these guys like that. And they don't mind taking the international style of play there as well. So that's Illinois freshman guard Kasparas Yakachonis going 15 overall to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Ersin, that puts you up at 16 with the Memphis Grizzlies.
And Memphis pick is fun, man. And of course, I think if I look at their team, they will change a lot. I think they traded Bain, of course, and maybe Jaren Jackson is next. Who knows? And their front court is quite loaded, so that's something that I'm not going to really touch on. I'm going with Yegor Demir. He makes a lot of sense for them. They love size. They love size in every position. And I compare them a little bit to how the Hawks are built, because they are forced to build through size alongside Trey. And Memphis does the same thing alongside John Morant, of course, who doesn't really, his athleticism makes up for a lot, but they lack that true on-ball top playmaker. And for Demir to succeed in the NBA, his role has to have strict boundaries. You don't have him, run the entire game for you. That's not really his strength. I think he is much more comfortable if the pressure is on someone else. And at that size, that ball handling and that passing skill, man, that's one of the best in this class by far. And everyone likes him for that reason, because he's a true 6'9" ball handler and a gifted passer. But outside of that, his game is quite raw still. And for Memphis, that's a good spot to develop.
You can just put all 6'8" guys next to John Morant and just be huge otherwise, and
Yeah.
I kind of dig it. All right, Kevin, you are back up here at 17 with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Who are you taking?
So the Timberwolves have a lot in flux. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they pretty much settled on Minnesota being the best destination for, I think it was Kevin Durant, which would be interesting because then you've got a bunch of guys moving around.
I like that.
Minnesota's a really good team, and it's tough to sort of say what it is they need, but I'm actually going to go for them for the guy that I thought about picking when the last time I was on the clock, and so I'm going to go with Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina. Just a big dude, good athlete, good player, and doesn't shoot well, but maybe they can work that out. They did work that out with blanking on his name. It's the wing guy, really good defender, and Naz Reid as well.
Oh yeah, Jaden McDaniels. Yeah,
Jaden McDaniels. That's who I'm thinking about. So I'm going to go again. That's Colin Murray Boyles going to Minnesota Timberwolves here.
I'm not the biggest CMB guy, but because it sounds too much like DMB with Dave Matthews Band, who I just don't like at all. I'm just kidding. But he makes sense to me there because just giving them a totally different look of the bigs, and you're not going to be able to pay Gobert a ton of money, Randall a bunch of money, and Naz Reid, a decent amount of money for the long term here. So getting a cheap guy to kind of fill in here over time that can be a more versatile defender, I think is a really good call here.
Yeah, and he does defend. So I mean, he blocks and steals, and he rebounds too. So,
and the effort will fit in there as well, like a clear effort player, and that'll go well next to Mr. Edwards. So, all right, so we're back on the clock collectively here, guys. We got to put our Washington Wizards hats back on at number 18. I think a lot of people would want to see the Wizards take a big at this portion here. We went kind of small the first time around here. They could probably use a little front court help, to balance things a bit. Kevin, who are the top 3 guys that are standing out to you here at 18 for the Washington Wizards?
So the next guy on my list is one that, especially if they go fierce at 6, they should not pick at 18.
Okay.
That's Jace Richardson.
Yep.
I really like Jace, but he is tiny.
Yeah.
And he's not hyper athletic. He is a great shooter. I think he's going to be a good pro, but definitely not. So let's see. That leaves me. So I've got Adu Tiero, who I think is an interesting player. And then I've got a Euro, Bogoljub Markovic. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, the first name. And then my other guy is another sleeper that we talked about. It's Drake Powell, just hyper athletic wing from North Carolina. So those would be my 3 that I would consider for the Wizards here. My top 3 that I would consider.
Ersin, Markovic is probably the guy people are least familiar with of that group watching this. I know that you have watched him play basketball at some point. Can you give us a little color commentary on what he brings to the table?
Nah, when I was watching him in the summer, it became clear to me on the defensive end, as a team defender, the game was too fast for him. That was one of the knocks that I haven't had on him. But offensively, the skill, the size, I think he's that ultimate 4.
Okay.
You don't love tweeners, but he's the ultimate 4 with the skills of a 5 as well. I think his self-creation skills in the post, as a passer, as an angle creator, great footwork for his age, man. It's insane footwork for his age. He's beyond his years, but the defensively is not good, man. I have him in that early second round range. I think 18 is too rich for a player like him because, you have to defend if you want to touch an NBA floor. Of course, the Washington, they don't want to give up 120
Not
points.
really required to be in Washington at this point.
I like him as a player, but I don't like him for Washington. He should go to a place where there's a certain role for him. For example, Philly is my favorite fit for him at 35.
All right.
And when I was looking at the names for the Washington Wizards, okay, hear me out. I'm going to go a little bit because this is what they need. Joan Behringer. This is my number 1 pick for Washington at 18.
Tell us a little bit about him, because I think that's another name a ton of people here probably haven't watched so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the biggest rises in the draft by far. I wrote about him before the summer, and I had him as a guy for 2026. I have him as a first rounder because of the level of screening, athleticism, and a clear role. I think he is a vertical up threat. You have to make him nothing more than that. But what makes him special, I think the screening makes him special, the physical development. I think he's now measured at what, 6'10", 240.
Mm.
He was maybe 6'8" when I was watching him. He was built strongly, but again, he had one of the best block rates in, I think he had the best block rate, sorry, in the ABA league.
Yeah.
And he played for a team that's trying to win. They played in the Euro Cup. I think in terms of sample size, that's what the NBA teams value, these European players with, experience in high level leagues. The ABA league is not a high level league, but he played in Europe among the best, in the Euro Cup, the second tier division. And if you look at what the Washington Wizards is like, is you need guard play to really make it happen with him. But that's something for the future. If you look at his game, the free throw shooting is not really what it should be, but these guys are young, 18 years old. He's playing basketball for maybe 5 or 6 years. He's not playing that long. And this is the type of guy that Dawkins likes to bet on in terms of what he can, that blueprint is not really set up. This is your future. You can change him a lot in various ways. And one of the things that I didn't really check in lately, but when I wrote about him, is he struggled when he was facing help defenders after post entry passes. He really couldn't pass out of that. But let's say he added that to his game or added to his game, there's a total 5, who's going to play a complementary role. Because swinging for the fences with top guys is fun, but you only have one ball, and everyone wants their fair share of usage, so you need these utility players. And 18 is a good spot for it. Berenger is my far favorite to go to the Wizards at 18. And one of the other fits that I have is, this one's not really going to be an authentic one maybe, but they need some glue guys on this team for the future. Nick Clifford, that's a guy that I like for the Wizards. An older player, that's what you need as well. A does-it-all player, a tough player with his rebounding. I think he's one of the best rebounding guards/wings in this class. And you need that type of role player that they're going to fill in the deficiencies of the younger players. So I like Nick Clifford there as well. And number 3 is open for grabs, man, because again, that's the Wizards. They need a lot. I won't go for another guard. That's something that I don't really like for the Wizards.
Yeah, I think that's a very all right. We have no throughput between those 3 lists so far here, right? Like that's good. But I think that's what this draft is going to be when you get to this point, is probably from 18 to their next pick at 40. I think teams are going to have totally different orders between now and then, and I think that's pretty compelling. Let's see who I got next here on the board that hasn't gone at this point. Let's see. The next guy available for me that has not been taken so far is Georgetown freshman center Thomas Sorber. In the tank for Sorber anyway, just being a local guy via Georgetown. He's from the Philly area, but just a big dude who's going to run the floor hard. To me, is a 5, which is just give somebody a little beef that plays next to Sarr, which I'm okay with at the 18th pick. I think longer term, if you were trying to build a playoff team, you see this watching these playoff teams right now. Like teams want to go 5 out. I think so. If you are eventually good with this Wizards group, Sarr is probably closing games as a 5. Whether people in the chat love that or not, but in most cases, I think you want him to be able to exploit some mismatches that way, and you don't want like a big plotting big next to him. I think you probably have the wingspan and mobility for Sorber to stay on the court in some playoff matchups for X amount of minutes, but ultimately at 18, you can take a guy that just can start next to him, eat up some minutes, take on some bigger, tougher matchups, set some hard screens, roll to the basket, not overly explosive, but a big man who's going to do some big man things for you. So I think that would be a guy I would be willing to lobby for. Then I have Liam McNeely from UConn, just another shooting wing. I think at some point this team could just really use a couple guys that can come in day one and actually shoot a basketball. It's still my biggest pet peeve from this Wizards coaching staff, that they don't feel like they need an elite shooting coach with this group, because they, quote, all know how to shoot and can teach it. So that drives me a little crazy personally. So you don't have to worry about that with McNeely. I think he was asked to do a little too much at UConn as a freshman this year as a playmaker, but Washington is just going to kind of come in, move the ball around, space the floor. So that one's standing out to me here. a little bit. And then I also have Illinois freshman wing Will Riley. I just mentioned someone that shoots. Riley didn't shoot it particularly well this year. Decent touch overall, but just buying low on a young freshman wing that was pretty productive in the Big Ten despite some serious ups and downs. So that's my 3. I'm not really sure how to get us out of this, guys. We both just gave essentially 9 to 10 totally different names here.
Well, what I'm saying is who, just maybe recap real quick who the 3 were. Maybe each of us could do that. Just real quick, just pop the names out because I'm just curious to.
All right. So you had Tiero, Markovich, Drake Powell.
Yeah.
Ersin had Berenger, Clifford, and didn't give a third name. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it a little bit specific.
Yep. Kevin, you actually mentioned Jace Richardson too, although not for Washington after just taking Fears. And then I had Thomas Sorber, Liam McNeely, and Will Riley. So it's as about a diverse a group as you're going to get here at this point. Any traits I think maybe that we can identify that the Wizards definitely should try to nail with this one? Is it?
I think it's the easy one. I think it's the local kid.
Okay.
I think this front office, for some reason, they value what's local. I think in DMV, it's you're almost ashamed that you don't have guys like that playing for the Wizards with the amount of talent there. So I would love Sorber.
The last
for me, the
Georgetown
reason
big
that I
man.
didn't name him is the ankle injury. It kind of scares people off. I think in the past, Sanders and ankle injuries, of course, we don't have medicals, so that's me being unfair towards him. So, Georgetown's fans and Sorber, sorry for that, but yeah, that's just how realistically these teams look as well. I think the medicals will determine how much he will fall on draft night, if he will fall. But yeah, man, he makes in terms of what will bring some more box office to to the area. He makes a lot of sense. I would go with Sorber, actually. I would go with Sorber 1, Berenger 1B, for example. But it should be center. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Interesting. Nomadic Brian suggests the 9 must fight in the arena and the winner is a wizard. I think actually they should play a giant game of 21.
There you go. I like it.
And whoever wins that's the pick. I could get with Sorber. I do have him a little bit rated a little lower than the guys that I had mentioned.
What range you got on there, Kevin?
I've got him like late first, early second. So this isn't, but he's in the range.
Yeah.
So it's not like picking him at 18 would be a preposterous reach in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the guy that I'm most intrigued with in this spot is Drake Powell, but I could be on board with a Thomas Sorber pick.
Where do you have Berenger on your list, Kevin? Have you run his numbers yet?
Yeah, he's basically in that same range with Sorber, just a shade lower, but in that same sort of late first, early second. Markovich, and I will say with Berenger and with Markovich, neither one of them have done the combine.
Yeah.
And I do use the combine measurements and agility and vertical.
Yeah, because the season is, most of them is ongoing.
Yeah. So I just hope they get him before the draft.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah. The last Georgetown center, my guy Jahadi White, that's played for the Wizards. I guess
You
Greg
gotta make
Monroe
Jahadi proud, man. Come on.
Greg Monroe had a little cup of coffee coming up from the Capital City Go-Go here, well past his prime, so we're not really counting that one. But I kind of actually I personally would go Sorber, but the Berenger one is sort of interesting to me. I don't know if he's dead set on coming over immediately or not, but at this point for Washington, are they going to want to bring in 3 more rookies to play meaningful minutes on this roster again this year? I almost wonder if they wouldn't be, willing to essentially stash a guy. You don't typically draft a guy at 18 and then stash him overseas. So maybe that makes more sense at 40, but they do love the international flair here too. So I don't know. Should the 3 of us fight to the death here to come up with the pick instead of the 9 of them? That's probably more realistic.
Nah, man. Matt, we're giving each other the pick, man. I'm saying you should take Sorber, and then you're thinking about taking Berenger. I don't know.
Kevin, tiebreak us.
Yeah, I would pick Sorber.
Okay. The Washington Wizards at 18 take Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown. And Ted loves selling some extra tickets, especially with how bad they were next year.
Yeah, he has a lot to make up, man, with the local people. So the local kid makes sense.
You can get all 100 people that were going to most Georgetown games last year to now also go to Wizards games. So
and that's including you, and you're already going. So that's 99 left, right?
Yep.
I personally don't think you're going to sell more than like 5 tickets more.
To the Sorber family who's getting them for free anyway.
Maybe Leonsis could do a deal for the Georgetown Alumni Club or something.
Yeah, it's they were a little better this year as a team overall, largely because of what Sorber did for them, but it is still rough seeing how much they struggle to fill an NBA arena, which I think a lot of teams would struggle to do that at the college ranks. But yeah, it's been a lean couple of years for our Hoyas here. So, it'd be cool to have them have a local guy maybe have some NBA success here as well. All right, so let's see. That puts the Brooklyn Nets back on the board at number 19. And I'm just going to go Jace Richardson for them. They can afford to sort of just figure it out a little bit here as well. Again, like we talked about, they're largely going to be a blank slate here, I think. And he's got the NBA pedigree. He knows how to play. So, which is interesting because David Aldridge wrote this really interesting article about sort of like some blind feedback today. And one of the quotes from a scout was that Jace Richardson doesn't know how to play, which was interesting to me because I got the exact opposite feel from that. It's just if he were 6'3", we'd be talking about him as a fringe top 10 pick. So that was a surprising anecdote to hear. So, all right, that's Jace Richardson, freshman point guard-ish, whatever you want to call him, out of Michigan State, going to the Brooklyn Nets at number 19. And that puts Ersin on the board here with the Miami Heat at number 20.
Yeah, the Miami Heat, that's a tough one, man, because they need a guard, but the Miami Heat prototypically do not really take that much, 18, 19-year-olds. They need a guy who's ready. And that puts me in a tough situation because I don't know what to do with them. And what I like about the Heat is they took Jovic a couple of years ago with the idea of, these inverted pick and rolls because they're 6'11", a true ball handler. He's too skinny to play in the NBA. That's why he struggled in the first few years. But picks like that makes me wonder, okay, why won't they go for another young guy? Because the young guys that have had success there, they were all picked in that same range, late lottery to 20. And if I look at for a guy like Nolan Traore, that's not me pushing the European guys, but Traore makes a lot of sense for them. The other side of the coin with him is, he's really easy to take his game away. If you open up the film and how he struggled against some better teams in Europe, you say they have much more experience. They know how to derail a young guard. But what I like about Nolan Traore is, the shiftiness, the handles. Although he has to improve his hand a little bit more to be more of a dynamic scorer with both hands, but he gets downhill. He gets downhill with ease. He's one of the best passers in this class, and his shot is really, it needs some development. But that's why the Miami Heat G League team, that will help him a lot. He will be one of those guys who will spend some time in the G League, and knowing them, they will find some experience to fill in the guard spot in the meantime. I'm going with Nolan Traore for the Heat.
I like it. Kevin, you had him fairly well ranked on Yoda as well? No, not as well.
He ranks much further down. So it's just one of those things where I mentioned this in the last one. That same league, I believe Risa Shea played in that league, and he also had a pretty low rating. So apparently Yoda just dislikes.
I'm
making
choosing easy for you, man. So
yeah, no, I'm just looking at his numbers real quick. I mean, I see, what pops out to me is one, low 2-point percentage, below 50%, which is a little bit of a red flag. Low shoot 3-point percentage, low free throw percentage, so that's a low overall offensive efficiency. And then the assists are nice. Also a lot of turnovers, but still a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. Not many steals, which, and then not many blocks either. So just overall, I don't love the production. And again, I don't have the athleticism numbers yet because he hasn't done the combine. So when I get those, that could change. I mean, if he's hyper athletic or something, then that could move him up. Or if he's just good athlete, then maybe he moves up a little.
Well, one more addition there, doesn't really to counter anything, but to give more nuance behind it, is when you look at the European game, you don't have the defensive 3-second rule. So what these teams do is they plant the 5 at the rim. And usually young guys struggle because of it. Because in the NBA, if you get downhill, you have maybe one opponent or you just finish the play. But then there you have to think about beating the 5 as well. And that's where these natural rim protectors really, can play their game. So if you're a young guy who's not physically ready to play, against much older players, and with Nolan, he had to, find a way to translate against
Mhm.
playing against his peers, two guys that are much older than him. Yeah, the defensive tricks second rule not existing. Yeah, man, that changes a lot. So that's why the nuance with Nolan Traore should be how he's going to adapt to the NBA. I think the NBA game is going to be much easier for a guy like him.
Yeah, that's
The
good
name
nuance.
that stood out to me there a little bit was Walter Clayton, just from older, ready to play kind of guy
Yeah,
that seems to also fit Heat culture. And again, like you said, they needed a guard, but they're not afraid to go the European route here. Overall, all right, just to recap, and then we'll really start speeding this thing up for the last 10 picks here or so. Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, Trey Johnson, Con Knipple, VJ Edgecombe, Jeremiah Fears to Washington at 6, Ace Bailey, Noah Essengay, Derek Queen, Carter Bryant, Asa Newell, Common Malawach, Cedric Coward, Rasheer Fleming, Kaspar Siakachonis. Let's see, Yegor Demon, Colin Murray Boyles. The Wizards up again at 18 took Thomas Sorber. We've had Jace Richardson come off the board, and most recently Nolan Traore. And Kevin, that puts you back on the board at 21 with the Utah Jazz.
Great. I'm going to go with not the next guy on my list, but the next guy after that, and that's Adu Tiero.
Yeah,
Yeah, just a talented young guy that I think has a chance to be a good pro. Adu Tiero, forward from Arkansas.
Yep. By way of Kentucky, decided to go with John Calipari. Calipari had to get a first-round pick here in this draft. Tiero's the guy that keeps the streak alive for him. So it wouldn't surprise me. It's the same thing. People bet on Kentucky guards. Now we're basically just betting on guys coming with Calipari from Arkansas now to be the ones to be better in the pros than they even were in college basketball. So I dig it. All right, the Atlanta Hawks are back up here at 22. Interesting. I wouldn't mind getting them another big, and I think previously for Atlanta we took a wing with Cedric Coward. So realistically, the next two guys up on the consensus mock draft here are Nick Clifford and Liam McNeely. So I don't know if they'll want two more wings realistically. So let's give them super senior. No, sorry, no, junior big man. I thought he was a little older than that. Danny Wolf out of Michigan. I'll just totally mix it up here for them. Just see the Danny Wolf pick and roll with Trae Young, but with Danny Wolf initiating the pick and roll here, I think would be just fun to go totally weird with it. So yeah, Danny Wolf at 22 to the Atlanta Hawks. Ersin, you are now up for the New Orleans Pelicans at 23.
yeah. Hey, the Pelicans again, man, and damn, it's a tough one. Okay, what do I do here? I think I'm going with. Actually, I'm not gonna go with a guard.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go with a guard again. Let me think about this a little bit. Now, what I like about them is they can go various ways, but they will bet on, size and ability to handle and play that 5 wing type of game if they can. So I think that's going to be their priority and the decision they're going to make here. Now I'm going a little bit unorthodox here. I'm going with Will Riley. I think he
Okay.
makes a lot of sense for them for what they need on the wings. I think they will betting a lot of wings here, but for Riley, he's gonna have the opportunity to grow there, just like Trey Murphy the third. I think he was one of the best productive wings in college, 50, 40, 90 he had, and then he averaged 6, 7 points a game as a rookie, and then he grew from there. But for Riley, it's getting stronger if he wants to succeed in the NBA. He's still too skinny, but if you look at his skill level, look at his size, I don't care about the wingspan a lot with him because his game should prevail around shooting more than as a scorer, and he should get the runway to play there. Some spot minutes as a rookie, then grow from there. If the Pelicans can build and can invest in a guy like that and give him a couple of years, Will Riley, man.
I dig it. Kevin, you were up with the 24th pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
So OKC, one, they are loaded. They I think they're making this pick probably for 2-3 years from now. when they start having some guys pricing out of their rotation, and they have to trade a few guys to keep their payroll in line, and they'll trade for more picks. So I'm going to go for the guy that I thought about for the Wizards at 18, yeah. And that is Drake Powell from North Carolina, hyper athletic, big wing, can shoot. And I think that they probably bring him into their system, let him play in the G League some, try to work with him, develop, and try to turn him into the next version of, Jalen Williams or whoever, but just a real hyper athletic, long arm, switchable defender, I think is exactly the kind of player that they would go for here. So Oklahoma City takes Drake Powell.
Yeah, I dig that. Makes sense to me. They're not afraid to get those kind of guys, and I'm all about it. All right, so let's see. That's the Orlando Magic on the board at 25. They could still use some shooting here. So I'm debating between two guys. You've got Nick Clifford, a little more NBA ready, and you've got Liam McNeely, a guy that's maybe got a little more upside longer term here. They like big dudes who can't shoot too, so maybe I still need to consider that as well, just for sake of sticking with what they like.
I thought with your passion for older players who can really shoot the ball, you'd be going Caleb Grill here.
Yeah, right, exactly. This just go as old as possible and as far down the road. He can really shoot it though, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Nick Clifford. I think that's just sort of would make sense for them, which is probably why they won't ultimately take a guy like that. All right, so we got two Brooklyn picks here coming back to back. Ersin, you've got the first one at 26.
Hey, damn, man, you took my pick.
Is that really what you were thinking? Yeah.
Yeah, I would think about that, but I'm going a different way here. Guys, really, that's not me. And the balls fall very wealthy today, man. I'm not going to push the French flag here today, but taking another French guy,
Okay.
surprisingly here. I'm going with Noah Penda. Noah Penda is exactly what the Nets need and exactly what the Nets will bet on. A guy like him. If you look at that tweener 3-4, it's true, hyper, not really hyper athletic, but a good athletic, a creator. He can put the ball on the floor. He's a good screener. I think he's going to guard 2, 3, and 4 in the future. One of those true, versatile defenders. I know versatility is the type of buzzword that we like to use, but with him, he's versatile on both ends. That's where his game really flourished this season. I thought he was coming out last year. I had a late first round grade on him, but this year he improved a lot, man. And I was really surprised that he didn't really get a lot of exposure because, in my opinion, he's a potential top 20 pick even now. And he was productive. That's important for his age. And he improved his game. He improved a lot of, his total package as a passer, as a slasher, and also how he handles the ball and embraces physicality. One of the reasons why he was successful is he's tough and he's physical. And a guy like him can play in Brooklyn because Brooklyn they need everything, and they can give him a runway to play good minutes. I think he's gonna come over right away. Yeah, man. I don't have intel of anything, but purely looking from a logical standpoint, I think he's gonna be their pick on draft night as well. Noah Penda.
I like it. Kevin, what are you doing with the follow-up Brooklyn Nets pick?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, number one, I very much like Penda, and pending his combine scores, he's I think could move up. I really like his production and stuff. So
Kung Fu Penda, you can't go wrong with somebody that brings that chaotic energy.
Yeah, that's right. So let's see. We're still with Brooklyn, and I think Brooklyn could. So okay, I'm torn between like three guys: Markovich, who I mentioned earlier, right, and then a couple of these older guys, Walter Clayton Jr., who I think would be a nice fit there. They could use the leadership, the athleticism, the intensity, and then the other guy is John Broom, who I think is. Has the potential to be a really solid player, but I think Broom would be better off going to a place like Miami or, a team that's a little more established and could just use a guy to plug in. I think he'd actually be potentially a nice fit someplace like Atlanta as well, just to add that toughness and the sort of the Al Horford vibe to it. So with this pick, I'm going to settle on Walter Clayton Jr.
I like it. Yeah, he's not afraid of the bright lights either, too. So being in New York City, I know they're not the Knicks, but like eventually when they're good again, that's a dude that'll, not be scared of the moment too, which I kind of dig. All right, that puts me up for the Boston Celtics. There's a white shooter on the board, and the Celtics are up, so I have to take Liam McNeely. Just played college basketball up in the New England area, so too good of a fit to not take him there. He can be the replacement for their current white shooter if he ever prices out. So you got to have one of those if you're the Celtics. So that's Liam McNeely, freshman wing. The last, I think, of the Montverde freshmen in the draft here too. So had to get a bunch of them, which is wild to me. One high school team has this many first round picks in one draft, and no college team has this many. Just kind of wild here. All right, so let's see. That puts you, Ersin, back on the board here at 29.
Who was the pick there at 28?
Sorry, Liam McNeely out of UConn. Yep. You're up, Ersin, with Phoenix at 29.
Yeah, Phoenix. Damn, that's a tough one, man. Because what I gotta do? Trade the pick, and I might trade back for some more assets because I don't really see why they should go for a guy, at 29.
Mhm.
But I think if I were them, I would go with a 5 actually. I know they need a guard, but I think going with a 5 makes a little bit more sense. And they need some defense, man. They couldn't stop anyone. It was just trying to outscore teams, but that doesn't work. I think Ryan Cochran I think the Phoenix is the best fit for him because of that team. Let's say KD stays. They really need something more offensively. I think they need some more play finishing, and they need defense, man. And one of the best traits of Cochran, of course, the Georgetown down ties. He won 4 Big East Defense Players Awards of the year in the Big East, but he doesn't foul, and he switches. I think he's a good perimeter defense despite being 7 foot plus. I know it's not really the most appealing pick in terms of hype or something like that, but this guy's a pro, man. He could
It's a
come out
day
2 years
one fit
ago. He
for
would
them.
still be around that age, around that range. Sorry, I like Cochran for the Suns. I think that's a good fit for him.
All right. Yeah, that's super defender. Just I don't know, sun blocker outer of the sun. Ryan Kalkbrenner from Creighton
Yeah.
to Phoenix. Kevin, you're up with the Clippers at 30.
Clippers, man. That's a team that I would be shocked if they actually use this pick. I figure it'll be moving in some capacity. So the guy I'm going to pick for them is I don't think I passed on him, right? Bogoslav Markovic.
Yep.
Forward, can shoot it, can just overall, and this, of course, his overall score pending. I mean, it's possible this could change a little bit based on his combine scores, but he's just a productive player in a good league, and I think he has the potential at least to be a decent pro. So at 30, you could do worse than a guy like this.
Guys, can we go 5 more minutes? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I got 5.
Sure thing, bro.
So let's do exactly this. I'm going to say the team name and the pick number and the person drafting it. You just tell me a name, no analysis, and we'll bang out 10 more picks. We'll get to the Wizards
I'm
at
going to
40.
try to keep it at that, man.
And we'll wrap it up. All right. So me, 31, Minnesota Timberwolves, Hugo Gonzalez. So next up is, let's see, Ersin, 31 or 32, excuse me, Boston Celtics.
Maxime Reynaud.
Okay, so I'm just writing these down as we go. Kevin, Charlotte Hornets, 33.
Let's go, Jonai Broom.
Okay. Let's see, Charlotte Hornets again. Ben Serif. All right, Ersin, the 76ers, 35.
Yannick Konen-Niesrauser.
I have no idea what words you just said.
I said Yannick Conan Nieshauser from Penn
Oh
State.
God. Okay.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. Sorry. That all jumbled together to me as I was writing something because he has 3 names in there. I'm like, did you just draft 2 players at the same time?
Yeah, I cheated
Okay.
a little bit.
No, it's okay. Center out of Penn State.
Yeah.
Kevin and I are both big fans of him as well. So we take that pick here. All right. Sorry, I just gotta write it down. All right. And then Kevin, you got the Brooklyn Nets at 36.
36, man, picking for them again. Sorry. For them, I'm going to Sion James from Duke.
Future NBA general manager. Write that one down. Just take that to the bank. 37, the Detroit Pistons are going to take Cam Jones. And Ersin, you are up for the San Antonio Spurs at 38.
Going Javon Small.
Okay, Small. Out of West Virginia. And then Kevin, you've got the Toronto Raptors at 39.
This would be so on brand, such an on brand pick for them that I'm going to go ahead and do it. That's Mohamed Faye.
I like it. International forward, very athletic. So I like that too. And that puts the Wizards back up at 40 with the last pick of our mock draft here. Any guys that are standing out to anybody here as, guys they should definitely be considering with this pick?
I'll go ahead and just rattle off a few names here. So in a couple of these guys that are a little older, I think like Clifford Amarui has got some potential as a rim running backup center type. Let me see. We are Javon Small already went. Elijah Martin, another guy from Florida I like, a little older, 23. And I think that those are some potentially good choices there.
Okay, I like Martin. Amarui, not as big on. Ersin, who you got? Give us 2, maybe.
Alex Tui, man. I'm
Alex
gonna
Tui.
go with one name, Alex Tui. I think he makes too much sense. If you look at this game, he's not really built on a big role. He finds ways to get better and he takes roles.
Okay.
And compared to last year, this year the shot, in my opinion, improved. I think the shot is expandable. I think he's a strong player. He's a good rebounder, and he plays tough, man. Toughness matters in the NBA, especially when you're young. And he's not really the best player out there, even on his team, but he is a good connective piece. And I think the connective passing and some extra playmaking, that's the swing skill. But in terms of what the guys that they have, they need some more support like that on the wings. Tui makes too much sense for me. I was going to pick him for the Warriors at 41, so kind of shooting myself in the foot.
All good. Kevin, what do you think of Alex Tui from what you got?
Yeah, I co-signed on him. He would have been on my list too if I'd gone third. So I have no objection to that at all, especially second round. I mean,
he is the next up on the consensus mock draft over at Rookie Scale is Hanson Yang at 34 and then Alex Tui at 38. So I think this is a value pick for them essentially. All right, if he would have been third for Kevin and he's definitely one for Ersin, I'm cool with it, and consensus has him. So let's take Alex Tui to the Wizards, and maybe they can convince him to stay over and play one more season in Australia before they bring him back over here. Guys, this has been awesome. Thank you for doing this. We got through all of the Wizards picks, which is goal number 1 first and foremost. We can, I don't know, maybe Ersin, why don't you give us one more name here who would have been next up on your board no matter what? Kevin, you do the same, and then we'll just close it out.
Well, let me think about this one.
You got a quick one more name. Just first the top of mind here. I want to keep you guys under an hour and 20 if I can.
Amari Williams, Kentucky.
Okay.
That
Kevin,
would be
who you
my guy.
So I'm going to give a shout out to probably my favorite player in the draft, not necessarily the guy I think will be the best, but my favorite player in the draft, at least so far, and that's Kobe Johnson. We talked about him in the last one, just defender. he just reminds me numerically, statistically, of guys like Alex Caruso and
Out of UCLA/USC before that for folks too. Yep.
yeah, 3-time All Defense for his conference, and he doesn't shoot the ball, although he does shoot it okay. And so I think he's got interesting defensive specialist potential, and if he can gain some confidence in just letting it rip, and just enough that he can be a 3-point threat, maybe he could actually be a decent player. So,
if we hadn't taken Sorber for Washington, I would have lobbied hard for the other Australian big name in the draft here, Rocco Zakarski. We talked about him on a previous pod. Also plays for the Brisbane Bullets, so I kind of like that marketing opportunity here as well. And Gregory Castillo mentioned about the guy you mentioned, Kevin, Kobe Johnson. That is, Jalen Johnson of the Hawks. Slightly smaller, almost as old, brother.
Did
all
he
right.
take his name out, Rocco? I'm not sure, but
Say that again.
I thought he took his name out, Rocco Zakarski.
Oh, really? Last I heard, he was putting his name in here, so he declared last I was aware. So maybe he was a last minute removal, but I don't know. I think he's in.
Yeah, it could be, man. I'm wrong. I think that's why
there's so many
the
guys
list
to keep
of the
track
guys.
of, and
so many guys took out.
Yeah, I feel. Ersin, where can people find your work here?
Yeah, it's on my Substack, man. I was just writing about I'm writing about the less coveted guys, so you don't see me writing about Cooper Flag ever. I was writing about Sean Padula today, and I'm gonna publish it tomorrow. And that's my thing. The less coveted NBA prospects. I do some college, recruiting stuff as well in terms of writing about JUCO guys, some under discussed international guys, and you can find me at EDEMIR MBA. This is my Twitter handle, .substack.com, and I write nonstop, man. So a lot of people unsubscribe because they it was notice 2 or 4 hours a day, and I watch a lot of film, and then I write about guys, and then on to the next one, man. But this is my last one, so before the drafts, I need to relax and focus on the draft a little bit.
I love it.
So long story short, it's the Substack and it's Twitter, man. I'm not that much active on Twitter anymore, so.
If you're watching this on YouTube, the link to Ersin's Substack is already in the episode description, so you can click right to that and find it. Kevin, how about you? Where can people find you?
Bullets Forever is where most of my stuff is. I'm also on playback here and there, especially during the finals. Did all of those. So I'll be on doing Game 6 in about 8 minutes.
Okay, I love it. Go get some water, bathroom break, all that good stuff. Have fun and enjoy the game.
Yeah, you too.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching this. Again, if you haven't hit that like button for us on YouTube, please go do that. And we will be back here again on draft night. So feel free to jump on with us. Rate, review, subscribe, all those good things. We appreciate you. Go Wizards, and we will catch y'all next time.